Hey guys, it's Thor Sandalwood, and today we're going to be talking about the age of Aquarius because so many people in the metaphysical community and the New Age community, we always bring up this age of Aquarius thing. And, I really got onto it when I went through my own spiritual awakening back in 2010. That's when I really got into metaphysics. I had big awakenings around that time. And 2012 was all the rage around that time. But what I found so synchronistic about the whole thing was this 2012 thing, the end of the Mayan calendar, coincided with this spiritual awakening that I was having. So in a lot of ways, through my own anecdotal experience, this age of Aquarius coming online is, it really manifested in my life as this awakening and really coming out of a deep slumber. And that's what's happening to humanity right now. We're coming out of this place of isolation and of these old pyramid structures, these old belief systems and so forth. So we're dealing with that right now. And I think that's what we're seeing with so many of the problems that are arising right now. Now, I do want to make mention that we are having a solar eclipse today, or we just had one. So I want to make mention of that. It's in the sign of Taurus, the second house of the natural zodiac. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. So I have a presentation really kind of explain how these ages work, how we're going through this precession of the equinoxes of 2,160 years. We were in the age of Pisces, and then another 2,160 years we're entering this age of Aquarius as well. So I was going to explain that. We're going to look at some of the changes that we can expect, because really, even though we entered this age of Aquarius in 2012, this is really a transition zone, and that's what we're watching as we just observe the world around us. We observe all these old structures basically coming down, all these old structures having problems, and all these new things coming online. So it's a mix of the old and it's a mix of the new, where all these things are overlapping right now. Because when you have a new age of 2,160 years, it's not like 2012 happened, December 21st, 2012 happened, and overnight the world changed. No, these things take years. It can take decades to change. But we're hoping, because what we've been doing, the lightworker community, is we've been meditating and focusing our intentions on speeding up this process of manifestation of this new age. So there's been a lot of light worker groups by the millions having these meditations using our co-creative input, because we all create our reality. We might be living in a simulation, but we're also co-creators with that reality, as indicated by things like the double slit experience, or the double slit experiment, where we realize light is both a wave and a particle, and it depends on the observer whether light is a wave or a particle. Think of how much creative potential we have based on how we manifest this reality. So this is really what's happening with us right now. Let me get to the presentation, guys. I'm going to throw a disclaimer out there, even though I don't think any of the stuff really needs a disclaimer, but better safe than sorry. One of the big things that I want to let you know is that the video is for entertainment purposes only, and I use the sidereal zodiac, not the Western tropical zodiac. I've had a couple readings, or one reading that I can remember, a couple readings, where, the person didn't even know that it used a different zodiac. So, what? I'm not a Cancer, I'm a Leo, so this is a different zodiac. It's based on the astrology of ancient India. So I want you guys to be fully aware of that's where I'm coming from when I'm doing astrological chart readings and so forth. Another thing, guys, we're doing really awesome as a channel. I'm almost at 900 subscribers, which is pretty good. It's been pretty slow going on YouTube, as opposed to My growth on TikTok is basically exploding. I have like over 11,000 followers on TikTok. So I think it really does show, I mean, metaphorically in a way, YouTube is an older platform and it's gone through so many changes, and there's so many YouTube creators that we're all aware that, with all the different moves that they've made, that, YouTube is in a way has been taken over a lot by big corporate interest, and that it isn't what it used to be, 10 years ago when small YouTubers could really make a name for themselves. So it's sad to see YouTube kind of on this trajectory, to be quite honest. And then the videos that we watch on YouTube now are so corporatized. They all fit the same pattern of, the stop jump things and the stop jump kind of angles with their camera work, and always saying like and subscribe because you kind of have to do that now. So anyways, it's kind of annoying as a creative person or an artist. Well, anyways, I'm joining into that. Like and subscribe if you guys like this. The goal is 1,000 subscribers. But the big thing and the big takeaway is, if you guys are interested in your own Vedic astrology reading, or even if you're just interested in, more of a shamanic reading, go to my website and check those things out. And that's what I do. So please check that up if you guys are interested. And what I really want to talk about, guys, moving on from that, is this solar eclipse in Taurus that we had today. And so June 10th, 2021, we had a partial solar eclipse in the sign of Taurus. And this is the second house of the natural zodiac. So I'm expecting volatility in asset prices. This eclipse season is influencing the second house and the eighth house of the natural zodiac. So that's why I expect some big swings and some big plunges over this summer. I do think we're going to be in the danger zone economically. So all of you that are invested in cryptocurrencies and so forth, I want you to keep heart that, that this is just part of the game that's being played. And this all ties in. So this whole age of Aquarius, the fourth turning, all this stuff, the crypto markets, all of this stuff kind of ties into this big synchronistic stew we have going on of all these events going on. So expect volatility. I want you guys to be aware of that. Next thing we're going to talk about, guys, is I want to explain these bigger time cycles. So in astrology, we're usually talking about mahadashas or bhuktis. For example, Venus mahadasha is a 20-year span. If you go through the whole Vimshatari cycle, it's 120 years. So that was projected to be the longest time that a human could possibly live, would be 120 years. So when we're talking about the Earth, we're talking about these bigger ages, these astrological ages, basically the precession of the equinoxes. So let me put that up for you guys so you guys can check that out. So the big time cycles is, this really all has to do with the Earth wobbles, guys, like a top. The wobble is so slow that we wouldn't really notice it because it's so slow, and it's over almost 26,000 years, 25,920 to be exact. But as it's wobbling and you measure every vernal equinox, you measure, that point of the vernal equinox, it moves through these constellations at a pace of 2,160 years per every sign, okay? So that's why these ages are so long. And what I really want to talk about is, besides, hold on a second, guys. Besides looking at the age of Aquarius, I want to also take a look at the age of Pisces and what that represented, because it's important for us to know what are we leaving behind so we can embrace the new. So that's what I want you guys to be really focused on. What kind of structures and things do we need to actually leave in the dustbin of history to move on as humanity, to become more united? And we are heading in that direction. We are going in a direction where there's going to be less and less of that disparity that we've seen over the last 2,000 years, of these tremendous wealth disparities where, 1 or 5% of the people own 90-something% of the global wealth. So we're moving out of that cycle. And a lot of that has to do with the old thinking of the age of Pisces, with feudalism and serfdom, and all that stuff is all wrapped into that. So it's a really quite nasty ideology, a nasty way of thinking, and it's a very primitive way to be thinking, to be quite honest. So we're going to take a look at that for a second. So let me switch the, I can never find a slide when I need to, right? So take a look at the age of Pisces, guys. The age of Pisces has to do a lot with the whole advent of Christianity. So I want you to be aware of that. And isn't it pretty ironic that, the fish is the symbol of, when you've seen, I used to see, people that were Christian, they would have this fish symbol on the back of their cars as like a bumper sticker or something. But it's really interesting that that fish, which is representative of Pisces, is that symbol that really stands out for that. So let's take a look, guys. So the age of Pisces was projected to have started in 148 BCE and all the way to 2012 CE, when we had the big transition there on the December 21st, 2012, where the Mayans predicted that. And we got to realize that Pisces is the 12th sign of the natural zodiac. So this is a time of isolation and sorrow. And it represents Christianity in many ways. And it's not Christianity per se it represents. It just happens to be when Christianity arose during this time. And that became integral to all of the hierarchies and structures of the world order during this time. And we see how powerful even like the Pope is to this day. And interestingly enough, the Pope wears a hat, a mitre hat, which looks like the head of a fish, to be quite honest. So when you start realizing this stuff, it really actually is quite interesting. So the old structures of Pisces, it's a time of pyramid structures and obedience to authority. Many empires have risen with the goals of material wealth and conquest. So you got to realize we're letting go of these old structures of conquest. I mean, we can go through it all. The Roman Empire was really in vogue when the age of Pisces came online. We had different empires. We had the Middle Ages, where things were divided into little fiefdoms and different lords and things that were at war with each other over resources and really petty issues. So you got to think that this is a lot of really low vibrational kind of behavior that the age of Pisces really did indicate. And it's really something we need to outgrow. I mean, let's take a look at the next slide here. So age of Pisces, I mean, we hit a very low point during the Middle Ages. Humanity was basically, in most countries, from what I understand, was put under feudalism. Petty wars happened between various chieftains. The old order wants to preserve this structure. In many ways, there's a modern feudalism that has arisen by putting people into some sort of debt bondage. So this goes into a lot of things. This whole idea of modern day feudalism or modern day serfdom. In many ways, this structure that was set up, it does put a lot of people in bad places with all the debt. If you guys ever read a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, you'll learn that, this guy who apparently worked for a lot of these banks and whatnot, he said, they would make these loans to these developing countries. And, they knowing that these developing countries could not really pay back these loans. And so then they would end up taking over all the local infrastructure of these developing countries and basically owning everything. So then when you have this developing country, it can never really fully develop because no one there owns anything. And what they would do is just constantly renegotiate these loans and give more loans to pay off the old loans. And you see that it turns into this debt cycle. So that's the age that we're really trying to leave right now. So I want you guys to be aware of that. We don't want any more of that. Like, please go away. We're done with it. So Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything. Bye-bye, Age of Pisces. We don't want that anymore. It's really, really unfair, and a lot of people suffer under this. So, obviously we're looking forward to the Age of Aquarius, so 2012. And so it's going to be for the next, 2,160 years. But I've heard it said that, it can take 150 years for the age of Aquarius to come fully online. And notice the terminology I'm using, to come fully online. Okay? Because a lot of what Aquarius represents is networks, because it represents the 11th house of the natural zodiac. So when we think of the internet age, the digital age, all this has to do with Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, information networks, digital networks. And so this goes right into a big part of my channel has been the cryptocurrencies recently. So let's take a look at the age of Aquarius, guys. So age of Aquarius, we projected 2012, although, guys, I want to let you know that it's not like a for sure solid date. But December 2012 happens to be the date that a lot of people agree on. So it's kind of like an agreement. Some people said it started in 1960. Other people say it's starting like 2030. So there's this big window of, so I put it 2012 because that totally makes sense to me. So 11th house of natural zodiac, this is a positive sign for humanity. The networking of the 11th house has manifested the internet and the information age. The earth is connecting on so many levels. This is the unity consciousness. The old fear order is clinging on, though. So, it's physically this unity. You guys got to think about this unity consciousness. How does it first manifest on the globe? Well, it manifests as literal electrical networks that have been established over the last, 100 or so, 150 years. And also as these information networks that we set up through the internet. So we're living in this wonderful age where I'm able to broadcast to you guys on YouTube. So it's really amazing. So this is an amazing age. So this is also an age because 11th house represents the masses on so many levels, because in masses, it represents like everybody, like on a global community. So it also represents these highest wishes and highest goals for humanity being manifested during this age of Aquarius. So let's take a look at the next slide, guys. So with Aquarius, the old financial networks that were secretive, let me preface that. During the old age of Pisces, the financial networks, the way they were set up was basically it was insiders. And you guys are probably aware of this. They kept it very vague. The way the financial system was very vague, kept very vague to the masses. And the people that were really allowed to participate really highly in these networks they set up during the age of Pisces was basically if you were born into certain families, or if you knew somebody important. That was the only way you got really, really big in. Of course, they have the stories of some entrepreneurs and stuff. But, for most of history, that was the way you got in. So anyways, the new networks will create financial systems that benefit more people. The proliferation of cryptocurrencies are part of this evolution that I see. Blockchains and a common ledger that everyone can see. So you see that transparency. As the world connects, world problems will be solved through joint effort. So this lends into this whole idea, guys, that especially when you have all this open source type of things are becoming more transparent. So when we see that there's this inequality happening and we see that things are not fair, it's more like everything's becoming more open source. And so this is the problem of the transition that we're in right now. So vibrationally, we are entering vibrationally this age of Aquarius, but the physical world is trying to keep up with these changes that are happening, which are pretty, which we're gonna be forced to change. But these old power structures, they don't want to let go. They want to keep us in the oil interest. For example, using petroleum fuels, which we know. We can't sit there burning petroleum fuels for the next hundreds of years and just pollute the heck out of the planet. But, there's that old order. And if you've ever seen the movie Tucker about how his car got sabotaged by big economic interests, that's a good movie to check out, guys. So basically, we're in this transition zone, guys. So the issues, we are in the transition zone. The unity consciousness is coming online, but very slowly. Saturn prefers slow because the masses take time to change to new systems. The old order wants to preserve the old unfair power structure. Very few people benefited worldwide from this old power structure. Expect more chaos as these old structures are phased out, essentially. So as these structures are phasing out, there's going to be this time of chaos. So I want everyone to be aware that we're entering this time of chaos, and I have one final point I'm going to make to you guys. And really, there's predictions I could make about the next, 6 months, which I do see a lot of issues happening because of all these retrograde planets that are happening. And you guys that subscribe to my channel, you guys are well aware of that. But there's also this concept between now and the year 2030, this concept of the fourth turning, which some of my subscribers brought up to my attention, and I saw, some YouTube videos on it. But it's a very interesting concept where these two authors basically looked at the history going back to the founding of the United States and found out that there were these 80-year generational cycles that took place, and we're actually in the end point of one of these generational cycles. And so that book is called The Fourth Turning. So let's take a look at that. So the fourth turning, we are all entering a phase called the fourth turning, as called by William Strauss and Neil Howe, who wrote the book, by the way. 2030 is like about the projected point to be the next transition to a high point. We are in the tumultuous times. The next 9 years will be the shift through adversity. However, a lot of great things are projected beyond that. So as somebody that's been trained, I went through a shamanistic training back in 2012. I went through some shaman classes and workshops, and I learned a lot of journeying and things like that. But also, what was important for my spiritual development was seeing the world as a shaman. When you see these signs and omens, when you see that there's this thing called the precession of the equinoxes, and we're shifting from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So you're seeing this presented to you. Then you're seeing these other ideas of the fourth turning, which is unrelated. It's just another idea. And so as a shaman, when you're looking through things with that shamanistic mindset, and as an astrologer and mystic, you start correlating things like all these data points. Like, whoa, okay, so I know the fourth turning looks like it's going to be happening. We're going through this shift of the ages right now. So everything's pointing into this very tumultuous period that we're entering right now, where we're going to have to basically shift to a new unity conscious, something that's more open source, more transparent, and more fair for everybody. We want something where everyone can live to their highest gifts. And I think everybody really yearns for that Star Trek type civilization, where money, maybe even money, will become not a thing in the future. Maybe it'll be cryptocurrencies, but maybe one day all of our needs will be provided for with technology and so forth. But we're going to have to evolve consciously to that age. So that is my presentation for you guys, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Thank you, Roshane. I also invited people on new followers, maybe from TikTok, and I thank you guys for coming and seeing the presentation. I will be doing some more videos this next week. We'll also be doing probably some more charts on cryptocurrencies, and I'll still be doing my monthly predictions. You guys comment down below if you're watching this video after the fact. Let me know what you think about this whole age of Aquarius and so forth. Until then, guys, I want to wish you many blessings, and I'll see you guys in the next video.